Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Dave for a very special review. I say very special review. It's something we've not done in a while. We're doing an older film. I know we're doing the Spielberg retrospective, so not in that sake of it. And of course, we're here to talk about Top Gun ahead of its brand new sequel, Top Gun Maverick, out in cinemas 25th of May in the United Kingdom. But before we get into all that kind of stuff, Dave, how are we doing tonight?
Very well, my friend. Had a really good, been a good day. So yeah, looking forward to talking some Top Gun. Watched it again a few days ago just to refresh because it's been a couple of years since I'd actually sat down and watched the movie. I had vague recollections. The only maybe mistake I made is I double billed it with Hot Shots. So if I talk about anything that sounds like it's actually from that's why. But yeah, can't wait to talk about it.
No, I'm excited to get you on and listen with this new sequel. I'm gonna say to anyone watching at home, we're gonna have a little bit at the end about the new film, discussing our talk and hype into that, all that kind of stuff. We're not wearing that aviators, and maybe we should have. I don't know. I didn't prep that to you. I know they did Zoom backgrounds in COVID where you could put yourself in the pilot seat.
Ah.
I think it's mad to think that was all 2 years ago. That film has been delayed bloody an incredible amount of time. But ahead of talking Maverick, comment your thoughts on the original Top Gun, of course, released in 1986, directed by Tony Scott. Let us know all your thoughts, the 80s, the music, the volleyball scene, your favorite characters, call signs, drinking games. I've got to bring that one up. So just let us know everything. And as we said, the new one is coming out. Of course, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're curious about the new one, I can say the review will be going up tomorrow on our channel. That is Thursday, the 18th of May. No, the 19th of May. I've been getting all my dates mixed up. It's been a crazy week. So keep your eyes out on the channel. Thursday, the 19th, there'll be a short review by me ahead of the new film. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Again, I'll preview that at the end. And if you are new to the channel, if you don't know what we do, of course, we're a film channel, a lot of reviews, discussions, and all that kind of stuff. Dave, you normally join me on the Star Wars stuff. There's a lot of Star Wars things happening at Star Wars Month. And whenever we have videos to announce, we like to put them on our social medias for you. So do follow us on there, Twitter at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. Links to public in that description below. But yeah, I keep trying to think of Top Gun puns, but I'm not going to. But getting into the film, obviously one of the films that epitomizes the 80s, one of the classics, a term thrown around a lot, but Top Gun is a genuine 80s classic. I'd love to know from you, Dave. Do you have, or can you remember, like maybe the first time you saw it, or if there's any ever an impact? Because I feel like everyone's heard of it, even if they've not seen it, and everyone's probably gonna have a different story.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this came out when I was 6, so not of a probably appropriate age to see Top Gun, but I do remember seeing it quite young, not at the cinema or anything, but I did see it when it's played on television. I couldn't tell you when that was, but one of my literally glowing memories in my head is the first time I'd seen a sex scene on a movie where I saw people kissing with tongues, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That's a vivid memory in my head of seeing that as a young child. Like, this is not something I want to say. But obviously, I do like that stuff. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's honestly one of my overriding memories of Top Gun until I've seen it over the years now, like sporadically, just every now and again I'll pop it in because it's one of those dumb but fun movies that I can just sit down and have a really good time with, even no matter how stupid it actually is and how little content in the movie there actually is. I watched it 2 nights ago, and you know what? I had a really good time with it. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, so that came out when I was very young. Tongue kissing was the thing, but yeah, I still enjoyed it.
It's one of them where I mean, don't because I remember Dine of a Day was the one for us. I was 6 at the cinema, and like we had one of my like friends at the time, like because obviously when your parents are friends and you're friends with their kids and stuff, covering their kids' eyes. It wasn't that bad. But yes, I understand why. But if I'm going to Top Gun, I mean, I hate using the word lads film, but I don't know if I've ever told you this before, or this story, or the group. So I probably saw this the first time when I was about 13, 14. And I'll tell you what, that's the only time I've seen it until this week. And it's not like intentional. I never disliked it. I just never saw it again. And I like a lot of other Tom Cruise films more, which is very interesting heading back into this and with the sequel coming out. So we essentially had one of my very close neighbors. They're a bit older, quite a bit older than me. And on a Thursday night, we'd always go around, hang out with like beers, films, PlayStation, and like I said, they're in their 40s. I'm literally like 13, 14. But it was every Thursday for about 3, 4 years. And the amount of incredible films I got to watch for the first time over this 3, 4 year window, and one of them was Top Gun, and they were both traumatic that I'd never seen Top Gun before. And like again, he'd bring all his mates around on the Thursday, and me watching Top Gun was a real big deal for them all. And it was also sketched by the Top Gun drinking game, which they told me about, which we didn't do because I was a bit too young. But if you're curious about the Top Gun drinking game, you all have short straws. And depends how many of you there are. You basically have every call sign written on a straw. You pull yours out before the film starts, and every time the call sign is said, you then have to drink. So if you goose, it's going all right until you get to the death scene. But
Spoiler.
oh yeah, it is still brutal seeing that. But yeah, that's kind of my memories of it, and even going back to it this week, I've had the Blu-ray for ages because you can't not have it in your collection. And as a Tom Cruise fan, like because I've not seen many of his early films, I'm talking like the 80s ones and some of the 90s ones. It's always amazing seeing how young he is because he looks the same now, but it's like this is like his natural youth, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And he just look phenomenal now. Like he's still like he's physically probably in better shape now than then. That's what I bet all my money on. But yeah, sort of heading in now, how do you feel with like? I mean, with that, we're not going to get fully in depth on every character, but we'll go through some of the main ones. But kickstarting with, of course, Maverick, played by Tom Cruise. Is he your favorite? I mean, I'm just curious about this because I feel like everyone's got other characters they enjoy. If I'm being blunt.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look past him. I think you do kind of navigate towards Goose, but I think that's the way the story's played out. So you do have that emotional attachment because, as I was saying, this film there's not a great deal of story told over the. It's only an hour and 49 minutes start to finish, so it's a really quick film as well. So there's not a massive amount of sort of time for you to kind of build up. So you kind of, I think you pulled towards Goose because obviously you're going to have that emotional beat with him, so you need to have that feeling. You get his family story, you get his wife, you get his. Has he got kids? That there's just the wife at that point. I can't remember. 2 nights ago, and I can't remember. In the bar, there's a kid. There's a little kid, isn't there? I think.
Yeah, it's Goose's. I
Yeah.
think. I think he's going to be a
Yeah.
new one.
You get that sort of story beat for him, and like nobody else really gets a backstory apart from him. So that's why, and it's blatantly obvious why. But Maverick is that cool character to kind of get behind. You've got Iceman that you kind of despise for most of the film. So yeah, I think Maverick is the one you kind of pull towards. I mean, this is Tom Cruise. He was just starting to hit what people probably thought at the time was going to be the peak of his career. So he's really getting those heights, and they've never dropped away in like 30, 40 years. He's still riding that crest of a wave, and that's probably impossible to happen. And something's going on somewhere in the background. Someone sold their soul for this, I'm guessing. But it's crazy that he's still making amazing like the Mission Impossible movies, incredible, especially certainly the later ones that are getting better and better. But yeah, so it's the height of this Maverick thing. I think he's definitely the character that you are pulled to, but still, probably Goose more for me than Maverick. Or still right.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think with Maverick, he suffers from that sort of not like protagonist syndrome, but because you spend time being reliant to him, it's his story. I always take a weird interest in other characters. I think, like as a kid, like Luke Skywalker was one of them to me. Harry Potter's a really obvious one for a lot of people. And as you get older, you start to appreciate their characters a little bit more. But for me, like, yeah, it's Maverick, but it's Tom Cruise, isn't it? Like you can't look past any role he's in and see him completely transformed into anyone because he is Tom Cruise. He is playing himself, and it's so fantastic still. Because I think he just when I was younger. I don't think he wasn't not a big name, but obviously when I'm getting to film about 08 time, he's sort of not off the boil, but what they call it, the Oprah thing, isn't it? Where like that sort of damage.
Had he made Vanilla Sky at this point? Let's look at the Vanilla Sky sort of dip.
And I just remember like I was like, yeah, Tom Cruise is cool, but I didn't really get why he's so cool. And as the years went by, I was like, God, these Mission Impossible films are good, aren't they? And I was like, Edge of Tomorrow is great, isn't it? And it's like and obviously as the years have got further and further, I've just been much more into Tom Cruise, and I really love this work. But yeah, with this one, if I'm being very polite, as you said, there's not much really to his character. Like he's literally, I mean, a maverick is the term, isn't it? As well as what it is, it sells it, and that's all you need to know from him. You said the The story lies in other characters, and there's not again go through all of them. But you mentioned Goose. Let's talk about him because from the get go, I mean, it's not a 70s mustache, but Goose is like that sort of 70s hangover in 1986. And when you meet him, he's just likable. He's likable from the get go. And
Yeah.
I didn't really clock how obvious his death would be. So the first time I watched it, when it happens, I was like, oh my, like, no, like, I liked him. And everyone else in that room had seen it 100 times. They knew it was coming, but I was just
Yeah.
sat there like traumatized. Like, they actually killed, you know, now, okay. Yeah,
I mean, it is when you watch it now, it's telegraphed from the minute you meet him, really, that he's going to meet his demise at some point. You can almost watch it step by step that it's coming, and you know it's going to happen. But yeah, it's he's certainly one that you just, as I say, he's the only character given any real backstory, which is, it tells you that what's going to go on with him. But I think Anthony Edwards played really, really well for, I don't know. Anthony Edwards obviously massive in television worlds in terms of ER, but I don't really, other than Top Gun, I don't recall seeing a film with Anthony Edwards in. I may have seen him in another role, but I don't recall it. But I know he's Goose from Top Gun, and that'll never go away. It's like crazy how one role can define a character for you, like an actor for you in certain genres. But yeah, he's always that character. So yeah, I just think he's certainly the role out of all the readings. I think he's probably the meatier role as well. I think he's got yeah, probably for me, maybe now I'm saying it in my head, the best role of the movie. Like, he plays the most important part.
Yeah, and I think with him as well, like obviously it's so easy to set up, here's Iceman and the villains and all these lot, but they all like, and it's such a typical like lad sort of thing you get in these action films. Like, here's your main character, they will like his best mate, but not him. And it's like so obvious that they're lining up Goose to sort of get absolutely annihilated. But when you get to it, it works so well. And that's kind of the thing of his character, that there's a lot more happening. I think he's not just more likable, but he feels the most like a character. And I think sometimes with films you get these like not doomed characters, but you get characters who are the sort of bacon from the get go, and he is one of them. And I will say when he gets to see it, it's believable. But the one thing I really don't like, and it's probably my biggest, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually in the sequel. Why does he throw his dog tags overboard? Like, not to sound weird or picky, but like, give it to the wife and kids. Like,
symbolism.
I know.
Moving
on.
on.
I didn't want to come on and like moan, like, but I was watching. I was like, yeah, great. I was like, dog tags thrown. I was like, I get it, but like, that's like a big thing. Like, military again. It's just me. Like, and I was just that certain. I was like, is this why the son hates him? Like, he's gonna meet Tom Cruise, like, yo, I still don't have my dad's dog tags. What have you done with them? It's like, oh, sorry, mate, they got thrown overboard 6 years ago. Why? I killed a couple of people, didn't I? It's all good now. Like, it's like the Force movie always. No, Goose was with me for one more flight, and then he was gone. But no, it's fine. It's one of those little things, isn't it? Like I had a lot of fun with it. Like we're doing a review of this. It's quite informal. It's more of a chat. But as you said, there's not really much to this story. Like, the main reason people are watching this is for the planes that go vroom. But before we talk about them, I actually want to bring up Iceman, because not just the fact that Dennis Bergkamp's nickname was after Iceman from this film. Val Kilmer, one of the all-time legends, and I always loved him in this because, before this film came out, I think you knew its rep. You knew Val Kilmer was in it. You knew Tom Cruise was in it. You know it's about planes, and you kind of knew there was a rivalry. Like, even I knew that, and I'd never seen it. And I think I'd seen Heat before Top Gun. Obviously, I'd seen Batman before Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of knew who Val Kilmer was. I was like, oh my God, it's the one from Heat. Obviously, and he's Batman. And I never dislike him in this film. And it's really like arsey. And like, not to say, oh, if you were going to be one, who'd you be? But I'd be more of an Iceman than a Maverick. It's just cold, calculated, and efficient. And I just really enjoy him. But ultimately, the core of it, yes, he's the next sort of, he is his rivalry in the school, but he is the safer one out the pair. Like, he is, it's like the whole typical school drama rival. But I really like Val Kilmer in this film. I don't know how you are with him, or
I really like Val Kilmer. I've obviously, when I saw this movie, I had no idea who he was. I hadn't seen much of his work, being a young kid when I saw it, so I wasn't aware of much. I've seen obviously a lot of him going through, obviously, as I say, like his Batman and Heat, which is just up there, one of my favorite movies ever. So I just Yeah, Val Kilmer, I really, really like, and this he's Iceman. Obviously, they literally this movie is like we need someone who's cool and what should we call Iceman? Obviously, he's going to be Iceman. It's very literally. It's so it's naming characters by the number. What's this one? Yeah, he's really, really calm. Right, okay, we get it. He's a Maverick. Oh, right, okay. Goose, he's out. Okay, right. It's it's really, really it's so blatant when you watch it now. It really is, but yeah, he's really, really for the part he's given, he's really good. He plays the atypical bad guy against the new kid, and Iceman's the cool guy who everyone likes as well, and love seeing him in the shower all the time. A lot of locker room in this movie,
Yeah.
a lot of locker room scenes. They like to be in towels and play volleyball. We'll get to that. So, but yeah, I think Val Kilmer is excellent to play that role of that the character who is going to hate Maverick and in with about 20 minutes to go is going to turn his feelings on a hairpin when he saves him with a shot, and then they're best buddies. You can be my wingman anytime. Oh, come on. What's not to love about Val Kilmer's performance in that movie?
And that's the thing with him, and it is the build up when he gets that cheesy line. I'm glad you brought the volleyball scene up. I'm actually going to raise this question. Yes, this film is about planes, but the volleyball scene is by far the most iconic scene of Top Gun. That's that's my statement. That when you see people talk about this film, they talk about it as the generalization, but then they'll speak about the volleyball scene, not the final scene, not the planes, not the other stuff, the volleyball scene. And I think they're gonna. I'm be surprised if they don't do it in the new one. It might be in a trailer, maybe I don't know. But it's
Yeah, there's a scene, yeah.
it's 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 so like 80s, and I think this is the core of this. Like with Tony Scott, I've not seen that many Tony Scott films. He's a director that I should have seen far more from. I think I've only seen True Romance, which I'm fairly new to, one of the Beverly Hills Cop films, and did he do the Taking of Pelham 1, 2,
Was it
3?
his? Was Tony Scott? Was it Unstoppable? He did the train movie with
Unstoppable.
Denzel.
He did that one.
That's
The
his
one I
last
saw was
movie.
yes, I'm just on it now, and
Yeah,
Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 is the one I saw, which was a remake, but it's
Travolta.
got John
Yeah,
Travolta,
yeah,
bold and looking weird.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what you kind of get with John Travolta these days. But you know, Top Gun was his second film, and
Crazy.
you got to say like in terms of like direction, style, and I guess this ties into the planes. It's exactly what you want and need. Like I know this sounds really unfair, and it's going to make people cry in the comments, but Top Gun is basically just like the original Fast and Furious, isn't it? Like you've got an actor who's back to this great role, and now he gets to go in planes and film it. And there's not much story. You don't need story because you're there for the planes. And obviously, there's not been 11 sequels, whatever, and hostage videos on Instagram like Vin Diesel, and maybe with the other cool stuff. But fast forward 30 years and we're getting another one. And we why are we going in? We're going in because we want to see Tom Cruise flying jets. It's as simple as that. The same reason we're going Fast and
Really
Furious. And
is.
I've seen a lot of people watching this week on Twitter. Not that Twitter means anything, but you've had a real bit of buzz. And then you've had some other people like trying to say, oh, this is rubbish, this is that. But it epitomizes the 80s that I feel like this is one of those films where if you were not the right age when it came out, if you'd seen this for the first time at the cinema in the 80s, it probably would have been like, boom, this
Oh
is
yeah.
Top Gun. And I think sort of talking about the plane stuff again, like the action scenes, like they're okay, and you get so much of the relationship stuff. I know I've not spoke about Charlotte in it yet. I'm not really too fussed about in terms of character depth, but talking about the planes, that sounds really unfair. It's just you're there for that, and when you get to the last 25 minutes, here's a mission, and that's to me when I felt like, wow, like here are the cameras on those planes now. Here are them shooting them in action scenes, shooting them properly. Yes, there's the beautiful orange sunset, which we've put in the background today, but it's it all comes together at the end, and not to sort of compare it to Star Wars, but it's like when you get to the trench run, and it's like boom. Star Wars is a masterpiece from the beginning anyway, but it's like there's something about the final 20 minutes of these kind of films that just know like this is why this film has its rep, and for the mid 80s, I'm surprised they even have half the shots they did. It looks superb.
It's crazy. Like the real, obviously the real life planes that are flying. This movie's the only reason I know what a MiG is. That's the only
Yeah,
reason I know what a plane MiG is, because of Top Gun. Like otherwise, I would have no clue. Those F-16s, F whatever they are, the ones that were in Afterburner when I was a kid. That plane, some of those flying sequences are just like crazy the way they're shot. The speeds, obviously, those are going past each other and
yeah,
incredible. I mean, some of the shots now where they're inside the canopies does look like you were shot in front of a blue sky-like
projector.
screen. It doesn't hold up very well, that part now, the close-ups, a lot of it. Obviously, which is why Tom Cruise in this new film is literally like, we're going to be in the planes and I don't care what you're going to say and how big a note I have to write the insurance company again to say I'm going to go flying. I think that's, you're right. It's one of the big draws for this new film that we're going to, that he's doing it. He's actually flying the planes. It's going to be
Yeah.
incredible. It's going to be such a spectacle. But yeah, the ending. I mean, obviously, with the fighting, I think they're defending a freighter that the MiGs are trying to get, because we're in no way, shape, or form given who they're fighting, which country
It
these
just
people are
happens.
from. It's just
Yeah.
generic. There's a star on the side of their plane. Doesn't give a flag. No, you're not given any group or anything at all of who these guys are. They're just there in MiGs, and that's all you need to know. Great. Stupid, but
I'm glad you
great.
I'm glad you said it because you sort of sat there. It's like, right over graduating quickly mission, and it's like it's been a day. Now this is what we're doing. It's like it doesn't feel not important, but it's like, oh, like we're. And I think, is it because of Top Gun's reputation now, where you think, like again, it's like, action has obviously come on 30 years since, but it's that weird vibe. Where it's like, oh, they're just protecting a freighter. Okay. Um,
Something like that,
oh,
yeah.
it's five of them and one of them. Like less is more. I've got no issue with there just being like five of their planes and stuff, because it looked phenomenal, as you said, in the camera and all that sort of stuff. But like it's so sudden. It's like someone. That sounds really unfair. It's like someone wrote a terrible romance film, and they're like, how do we spice it up? We'll put some planes in there, and because I mean, we've not spoken about Charlotte yet, but how do you feel about the whole romance? Because yes, it's 80s, it's the 80s soundtrack, but there's nothing there, and it feels like Karate Kid. Like I feel like I'm watching
Yeah.
something like Karate Kid, but they're kids at high school, whereas this is meant to be like adults, naval officers, pilots, everything, and it's just like cheesy. There's like coming of age dramas, and how do you feel that relationship? Because it's so boring. I'm just there like, not get to the chopper, but get to the action, please.
There's not a great deal. It's fluff in the middle of a film that they want to put in there, because every 80s film needs some sexy time, and that's pretty much why. When you think the soundtrack plays probably a bigger role in this than she does, is like a really major part of that. It's not that she's bad in it. She's great in the movie. She looks great. She plays off Tom Cruise really well, but there's just there's no real need for them to have that part of the story. She doesn't offer anything to the actual story part of it. She doesn't act in like a role in the finale. She's not there like in the room that they need. She doesn't get him over the father thing, like where that they brush over in about
Yeah,
4.5 minutes, that he finds a thing, can't fly twice, then he's okay. So it's brushed over so quickly, and that might be mixed up with Hot Shots again, where they do so similar. But yeah, it's she doesn't play a role in that getting over either. So it's a weird role. I, I, would you see the film differently without her? Maybe, but I do like her in it. It doesn't do anything for the movie for me, though. I say like the soundtrack for me is a much bigger part than she is.
I mean, let's talk the soundtrack. I mean, I just want to. In my head, you say Top Gun soundtrack, and Danger Zone starts playing, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's so intertwined with this film, and I'm so excited. I think it's going to be on the new one. I think the track listing's out. I know Lady Gaga's on the new one, but I'm pretty sure I read T-Bob. I mean, you can't have Top Gun with that Danger Zone. But
No, you cannot.
I actually have this on vinyl. I'm not going to grab it, but it is right up there. And I sort of think to myself, why do I have this on vinyl? And I was like, because I like soundtracks, and it was probably like a really good offer somewhere. And also, it's being able to play Danger Zone on vinyl with really good speakers,
Yes, sir.
and it's such a fascinating thing because we haven't even. I mean, we're not going to like go in depth on Oscars and stuff, but "Take My Breath Away" won Best Song at the Oscars, which is actually incredible. That Top Gun is an Oscar-winning film. And and I feel that that's one of those songs that has surpassed the legacy of the film. That you could,
Oh, definitely. I
some
think it
people
surpassed the
will
legacy
watch.
of the group who sing it, Berlin. I think they broke up after this song.
Yeah, and I think when you hear the song, I think because it's been played in pop culture over so many years, it's one of those instances where it's very, you can separate it from Top Gun. Yes, it's part of Top Gun, but people will know it from elsewhere and from other things. Whereas Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins is still like to me that's the Top Gun theme. Like, yes, Top Gun has its own theme, but it is Danger. And what I love
Oh
as
yeah.
80s as it gets, they just keep replaying the same songs. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, modern films should say, no, you can play the same songs over and over in a film as long as it's not terrible and it's a good song. Um, but listen, the soundtrack is famous. I've just been trying to find out if there's any way of like finding out, you know, how many items it sold. I know it's one of the highest selling soundtracks of all time. I'd be very surprised if it isn't like the top two. I don't actually
No,
know what would be
it's got
close.
to be up there, like without a shadow of a doubt that it's going to be right up with the best soundtracks ever released. There's no doubt in my mind. There can't be many soundtracks that have been higher listened to than the top. Say just for like the Danger Zone is. I can see Tom Cruise running to a plane whenever
Yeah,
whenever the song comes on. It's
and
so good.
it's like GTA. Like, you'll be playing a plane mission, and it will specifically play Danger Zone when you're on GTA Online. I know it's been a few years since I've played it, but it was always set in there, and I think that's when you know that it transcends something. Is again not just the fact it's got pop culture, but everyone has that association in mind from the get go, and I just think that's what makes it so much more fascinating. But are there any songs you'd love to speak about that we're not going to do a soundtrack review? We've never really done that before, but it's
Yeah,
so iconic, like every song.
yeah, I mean, you can't go Danger Zone for me is far too good a song to look at anything past that. Berlin, I don't mind the song that much, but Danger Zone is far and away the best song on that soundtrack, and it's so 80s, but it's so perfect. Even now, if it has a time like it's one of the songs that has a timeless quality, but it really does. You could put that out now, and it doesn't harken back to like an 80s sound on there. It does have a vibe of that, but people like the Darkness and things like release songs like that album they released a while ago. That had that rock feel. It just is a great song, and for me, hands down, the best song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And again, the fact is going to be in the new one, and I'm glad that the new one isn't taking away from the original. Like, we're not saying, this doesn't exist; it's our own thing now. It is very much in that. We're gonna follow on a little bit. And
Although a little bit
look,
of playing with the boys never goes amiss.
I'd like that song. It's really bad. It's that like it's like so many 80s on it. You're in another era. Like, yes, I didn't exist in that 80s era. But it's like, I think because my parents were in their 20s in the 80s, we've grown up with a lot of 80s music in the house, and some songs know more than others. But the that one, it's just one that just comes on, and it's like, oh, I'll let this one play on shuffle. I'm not going to skip this one. A lot of the thing is, when I do play the album, most of the time I actually just like play Danger Zone, and I've almost skipped through, and then it's like, you're replaying an album, you're back on Danger Zone, and it's a great song to drive to. But I can't just do it on loop because it does a discredit. But I know we spoke for a little bit, and I said we're not making this one of these longer in depth reviews. Do you have a favorite scene? I feel like we've spoke about the two or three main ones.
I think the goose death scene is up there. I think it's actually really well done. The way you see the canopy when it opens, and them in the water, as the helicopter comes in to take them away. Like, you've got to let go of them. I think it's a really well shot scene. It's very well put together, so you get the feeling of you see the impact. I think that's really important for him not just coming out and then obviously you see that parachute and not just being fine. Oh, he's dead. He didn't survive it. So I think that hit the canopy and then the body just dropping with the parachute just like into the water and Cruz holding him. I think it's that's probably up there. In terms of other scenes, there's so much of a muchness like to what we're doing, but it's a lot of the just seeing those planes moving in the directions they do at the speeds they move in is still to me incredible that someone could have that kind of control to follow another plane. I guess this is why they're in Top Gun, best of the best. Strickland from Back to the Future as the guy. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
he's the weird character.
but yes, but planes flying at that speed, that close behind each other to get locked, that still blows my mind that that can actually be done by a person with a joystick. It's craziness. So I would say that more than anything, but Goose's death, and then anything with the planes.
No, I mean, anytime the planes come on is a welcome sign, and I think I hope review hasn't sounded harsh on the film. Like, I think we both enjoy it, but
No,
there's
no,
really
yeah,
not much like to the film. Like, its reputation is that it is Top Gun, and those reasons why it is Top Gun is because of Tom Cruise, planes, and music. And there's nothing wrong with all of those,
volleyball.
is it? Volleyball, yes. A lot, it's the baby oil on the volleyball as well. That's got to be added on there
Oh
as well.
yeah.
Lots of baby oil. Um, but what I
To be honest,
will,
if I looked like that with my shirt off, I would never wear a shirt, and I would have baby oil with me all the time. It'd just be the way it would be. I just
it's just it's like the epitome of like not like alpha male, but it's that like 80s like
oh,
again it's that it's
absolutely.
the secondary school thing you've seen or the American comedies like I'm gonna out impress the other guy and then those two are just so ridiculous. It makes for such a great viewing. And I think that's what makes it funny. And without getting too in depth on final thoughts, because I don't have really in depth thoughts on this. I
Yeah,
enjoy this film. It's fine. It's fun.
yeah,
It's kind of what you want from a film in the 80s that's going to have planes going vroom. And I keep saying that,
yeah.
and that's the way my final thoughts are.
Yeah, it should be, and I think it is one of those. I say, like, I hadn't watched it for a good couple of years, and then I watched it say 2 nights ago, and I put it on, and it flew past because the runtime is so short. It's so
Yeah.
tightly put together. Very little story. Very you like it is planes fighting each other, but you know what? I had a great time. I smiled all the way through it. Came out, I finished like that was a really good watch. So a film that makes me do that's a good film for me. If it makes you think, you know what, I'll watch that again sometime soon because I've had a great time with it. Stupid but fun.
No, 100%. And maybe we'll do if we bring back drink alongs, maybe it will need to be Top Gun next time, and we'll do the call sign game.
We'll do
So
the call
people
sign.
comment if you'd love to see it. But before we round off, really quickly, are you hyped for Maverick? Like, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, at the time of recording, the reviews are out. I'm not reading them one by one, but I am seeing a hell of a lot of buzz for this.
Yeah.
And I'm getting hyped. I don't know where you are. Have you got tickets booked, or are you going to be IMAXing it?
I will be IMAXing it. I don't have tickets as yet. I don't know if I'll see it opening night. It's not going to be like a must go opening night to see it, but I do want to see it on IMAX. There's no reason not to see it on the biggest screen possible because you're going to need that for the full experience, I believe, on this. Was I hyped before? Maybe not so much when it was like, it's one of those films, and we discussed this before we came on, that seems to have been coming out forever. This took the place for me for Skyfall that was so delayed, and this kept getting moved and moved and moved, and maybe the hype died off a little bit, but the closer it's getting, and the little clips I'm seeing, and certainly, like you said, the reviews are really helping. I think it's 5 stars in Empire and Magazine, and all. It's just good things coming from it, and that makes me really hopeful that we're not just going to get. It's not just going to be a planes go zoom movie. This one, but it's going to be a big part of it. But this planes going vroom with actual real Tom Cruise in them makes for a thrilling position that you're going to see this guy in the actual plane. You're going to get a lot of shots that are actual. There's a camera on this plane looking at Tom Cruise flying this plane through really, really low terrain, and it just for the spectacle alone, I can't wait to see it. And then I think you've got this amazing story with Goose's son being in this mustache as well. Got the same mustache from his dad. He obviously inherited it. Looks incredible. Miles, I can never remember the guy's surname. Miles was in.
Miles Teller, Whiplash,
Yes, Miles Teller. Thank you very much. That's it.
and Fan
That's one
Stick.
movie. Yeah.
Didn't
Yes, and Van Fort. So dear me. So yeah, I think he's a really good actor as well. So I think that's really going to help him play. And the scenes you've seen where he's obviously dead against Maverick being at Top Gun again, I think it's the interplay is going to be really good. I am really hyped. I've taught myself even more into it now. We've just done this tiny little bit here, but yeah, I really want to see this movie.
That's good. And to me, like this hype it's like the unofficial Mission Impossible film coming out. It's like Tom Cruise took a break from filming Mission Impossibles to film Top Gun 2. And it's like, yeah, that's fine with me. I'll take that. And it's the delays. I mean, even pre-COVID, this was one of the films like like Tom Cruise is a press tour. So Tom, we're doing Top Gun. Oh, I think so, but we're not doing CGI, so we're talking and I'm not going to do a Tom Cruise voice. No chance I can do that voice. But it's like it's been gone on so much. As you said, like the buzz goes. But I think as we've got, the first trailers, I was like, cool, like
Yeah.
planes. And then as we've got closer, it's like, yes, planes, IMAX, let's fucking go. And that's what
Yeah.
I can't wait for. It's going to be, I think this is low key. I think I read there's a 100-day theatrical clause where it can't go online. So, Tom
Nice.
Cruise, actually, we don't, I'm not going to get into discussion on action stars, but he holds Paramount by the throat and it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, it's going to be fun. So, as I said, everyone at home, there's going to be a review going up tomorrow on the channel for that one. There should be, unless something majestic happens, or not majestic, something terrible happens in the next 3 days, and I don't get to go. But yes, review coming tomorrow. As they always are, shorter, sweeter. But there's probably going to be a second discussion on the channel. Get some more thoughts out there. Might have seen it again. Get some more people involved, get a big discussion going. Because if this is going to be one of the big films of the year, then it's going to be worthy of a discussion at length. So do join us for that and comment below your thoughts on Top Gun. As I said, if you enjoyed this video, if you're upset we've massacred an 80s classic, I don't think we have. We've been very polite. Hit the subscribe button because we get to talk about Maverick. We're going to have a different background. From the trailers, the Orange Sunset's going to go, certainly, for a hell of a lot of the time. And we're going to see if we can get some cool photoshops in that. I don't know. We'll find out. And the way you'll find out is by checking our video tomorrow. So please do subscribe. Turn notifications on if you want to know when it's going up. And if you're new to the channel, of course, as we're a film channel, we've got a lot of film stuff on the way. We're currently working on the Steven Spielberg retrospective, so we're sticking in the 80s. This is going to feel weird. 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 2 years before Top Gun.
Wow.
I mean, like, you'd think they're like 20, 30 years apart in terms of just release, let alone, quality. So that's going to be next Tuesday, that review. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, we're doing a Star Wars month. Check our Twitter feed on Thursday night for something I can't talk about yet. That's tomorrow night. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on Twitter. I'm going to say this once, Dave. You're in the know on this. If there's ever been a time to follow us on Twitter, it is tomorrow, and turn notifications on. That's all I can say. And that's very cryptic because I'll leave it. But we're doing other Star Wars stuff before Kenobi. So Reboots from Hell returns this Monday, the 23rd of May. Revenge of the Sith, the final one in the trilogy. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we've got a small matter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is Friday, the 27th of May. Episodes 1 and 2. Expect a spoiler discussion. There'll be every Wednesday after that point. And it's Star Wars Celebration. There's going to be a lot of Star Wars videos. There's already some on the channel. There's some more coming up. And there might be some more Kenobi things. So keep an eye out on the Twitter feed and a lot more. So as I round off, Dave's channel is in the description below. Dave, where can the people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at The Life of Brian, doing part work builds, currently building Ector 1, also active currently more probably on my Twitter, which is the Dave Brian, and that is me going through my movie watches for the year. I'm currently going through all the Bond movies and then just kind of following my journey of how many movies I'm going to watch this year. My Twitter's alive with fun like that.
Definitely. So follow him on there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's been a delight to get him for Top Gun. Of course, you'll be joining us on one of the Star Wars.
Always a pleasure.
As it always is likewise. So everybody at home, thank you so much for watching, for joining us on this, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.